On this edition of the MCPS Spotlight, we are joined by Eileen Coogan, an ESOL teacher at Sherwood High School in Silver Spring. Today we're going to be talking about a very interesting project that she did with her ESOL students. Thank you for joining us.
Sure.
So tell me a little bit about this Migrating Lives project that you recently completed with your ESOL students.
Okay, well we started with a visit to the Sandy Spring Museum, and we met Heidi McKinnon, who proposed the idea of making a project where the kids could, she wanted to involve the community more in the museum. And so she said, well, your students have these amazing experiences, and I would like to propose this project where they could write their stories, share their lives with other people, and work with Beatriz de la Fidelman, who's an artist, on bookbinding techniques at the same time. And so we started it back in October, the end of October, and it went on for a few months. They come once a week and work with the kids, and it was a long process, but it was a wonderful process, and we finished by having our exhibit at the museum.
So tell me a little bit about the process and getting the students comfortable enough to share their stories. I know that many of them have had very difficult times as they've migrated to the United States. So tell me a little bit about getting the students open enough to share some of these stories.
Right, at the beginning it was hard. I mean, some of them were willing from the beginning, but others were, like when they'd leave, they'd say, Miss, I'm not gonna tell her anything. You know, I'll tell you, but I'm not telling other people, you know, and I promised my mom and things like that. But for one of the funniest examples was the one girl who came when she was 8 months pregnant, and she said, I can't tell anything, I'm not doing the book for them. And at the end, she did 3 books. So one of the things that they did at the beginning, they tried to get them to trust them and feel more comfortable. So we focused on the art more and the bookbinding techniques and the colors, and Beatriz showed some of her life coming to a new country and her stories to kind of give them ideas. And then they did a really cool project where they talked about their lives using rocks and flowers and ropes, and they had to kind of map out their life with the rock, the difficult or hard experiences, and the flowers or beads, what they chose. And once they did that, I thought, oh, these kids aren't gonna like this, you know, because high school kids are, sometimes they're like, oh my God, we have to do that. But once they started doing it, all these things came out, and they said, you don't have to talk about anything you don't want to. But a couple kids were in tears, they were, you know, saying things they had never told anybody, and then they put it in their writing. So that was really cool. So by the end, it was amazing what they shared.
The process of being in an ESOL class and learning a new language can be quite challenging. Why do you feel it was important to give these students an opportunity to tell their stories? I understand some of them did it in English and some did it in their native language. What is it about giving students an opportunity to tell their story that you see was important for your students?
They have lived such incredible lives. I mean, you know, some were working at 8 years old, some were facing danger of gangs. A lot were separated from their parents for 10, 12 years. So they had all these things going on in their lives, and nobody ever heard their voices. And so I think it was really important for them to know people could hear them and listen to their stories, and they were surprised that so many people cared. You know, at the exhibit, people came up to them and said, wow, Jose, I read about you getting a new kidney, and how did that happen? And you know, I read, you didn't tell me the end of the story. And, you know, so it was really important for them to see, and I also think for others in the community to understand, these are kids who just came for a better life, you know? That's all they want. So it's really important, and teachers and everybody to see and hear their stories.
And if you could summarize the impact, what have you seen change in your students, the transformation?
I've seen them be a lot more open with each other. They support each other a lot more. It's just very touching how close they are. And for example, this year in our international shows, some of my ESOL 1 kids did a dance. In the past, they would have had to been here a couple years before they'd have enough confidence to go out there and do that. But they're really, you know, have a really good attitude and focus.
It sounds like it's been a great project and process with your ESOL students. We want to thank you for joining us on the show.
You.
And we'll see you next time on MCPS Spotlight.